Hey, I'm Dustin.
And I'm Steve. Welcome back, listeners, to the finest phototainment in the world. That's right, you're listening to another episode of the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast, and a reverent look at wedding photography. This podcast, like aspirin, will help you recover from your wedding hangover.
Steven,
What's up?
I feel like I haven't talked to you in so long. I mean, we have both been traveling destination wedding photographers this past weekend in illustrious locations.
Mm-hmm.
Some perhaps maybe more illustrious than others.
Well, I mean, I was basically shooting in one of those cigarette holders, where people put their cigarettes out.
Steven, I've never smoked, so I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not grown up in that cigarette culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's like
Perhaps-
that little thing, like 8 feet away from the entrance to any door in the state of Indiana, and it's like got a little tiny hole at the top, and then a big basin at the bottom, presumably filled with sand.
The big
I was
penises.
basically shooting inside of one of those. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I imagine where you were shooting was much more illustrious.
I wouldn't say illustrious. It was nice. It was in Ohio, in the great city of Cincinnati.
Oh, okay. OHIO.
So I mean, we have Cincinnati on one hand, and then we have California on the other hand. Granted, yes, I know you had some small embers cause some fires. Is that what I
Mhm.
heard?
Do you really want to downplay it like that when it's been like some of the worst fires in Californian history?
Steve, this was your story. I just wanted to see if you wanted to talk about it.
You know me, Dustin. Do I want to talk about it? Do I want
Still
to talk
can't.
about my personal life?
Still can't get over you not wearing a hat. It's like I'm talking to a more mature, more sophisticated version of you. It's completely throwing me off.
It's almost like I'm professional, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is how I usually am when I'm shooting a wedding. So,
Like I feel like as
Crazy.
if there was a version of Steve the podcaster and then Steve the producer, director, editor of the podcast. Like you're that version right now.
mm-hmm.
I guys, I can't promise the quality of what this episode is going to be like.
Yeah, right now, this is like Steve Van Elk out on the dance floor with a camera, several
Mhm.
flashes. Probably, if he's getting real crazy, he's got like a flash with a trigger on top of his camera. He's got a prism in front of his camera, rocking a 24-70 on the front of that Canon 5D Mark IV, and he's prisming some bulb exposures and just completely destroying his wrist.
The Steven Van Elk we've all grown to love.
Steve Van Elk takes a lot of really terrible shots on the dance floor because he might get one that's just amazing.
Amazing.
You know how it is. It's like when you throw Corinne up on your shoulders and she might drop a lens or she might not.
Back to California here. As a Midwest photographer, we get used to mediocre light, gloomy days. But now that you've gotten to experience that sweet, sweet golden sunshine for about an hour, what was that like? Tell the listeners out there that might not have ever experienced California.
It was really smoky. It was very hazy. It was like shooting through a giant diffuser all the time. I didn't really experience that California light like you're talking about.
Okay, let's talk about the day you were like on the way to the airport. On the way to the airport.
Oh, the day that I left when I had already packed my
Yes.
cameras up into the carry-on and
Yes.
zipped and locked that.
Yeah, the little tease of California there.
It's still pretty hazy that day too. It was just less
Bitch.
hazy than the other days.
Uh
It was just terrible fires, Dustin. I'm not joking.
oh, but it's like the first day you were there.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have like at least one moment where it's like you're like, God, it's like golden hour here all day long.
Yeah, we had like half of that moment when like the first thing we did, we got off the plane and we drove to the Golden Gate Bridge because we wanted to see that.
Mhm,
We wanted to make sure we got in there for that. If we'd been smart, we'd have gone up to Muir Woods as well. But we were like, we'll do that on the last day. And then the last day came around and was like, we're so tired from the wedding the day before. We don't want to drive to Muir Woods and try to hike around. And we also haven't packed everything up yet to get ready to go. And by the time we did, it was like, we don't even have time to drive up to Muir Woods. We can maybe go downtown San Francisco to grab a bite to eat.
You go to like Fisherman's Wharf.
We went to the Palace of the Fine Arts, and then we went to Girardelli Square.
Well,
And when I
Girardelli
say
Square is like Fisherman's
Fisherman's
Wharf.
Wharfish, yeah. When we went to Girardelli Square, we were like, let's get a bite to eat. And then we looked at our watches and like, let's try a beer. Because we didn't have time to get food. It's cool.
Yeah.
We ate in the airport on the way out of town.
That airport's kind of crazy, though.
It's like a million times better than the Indianapolis one. So
Really? I find, like, I guess I've only flown there 3 times, but every time I've flown there, it's like the security line is nuts.
security line is nuts, but like the actual inside the airport, it's like
Oh, yeah. The airport itself is nicer than Indianapolis, but I'm just saying,
much
like,
nicer.
I thought I was going to miss my flight numerous times because of there's limited security
Mm-hmm.
compared to other airports.
Yeah. You got to show up early.
So, as the listeners out there now know, it is true. Steven and I are national wedding photographers.
I shot a wedding in the Dominican. I'm an international wedding photographer now.
Steven is an international wedding photographer. Dustin,
You've shot a wedding in Mexico. You're also an international wedding
I am
photographer.
a North American wedding photographer.
I'm a North American and 1 Caribbean.
Oh, what are you drinking tonight, Steven?
Tonight, Dustin, I'm drinking a Dorian Stout from Scarlet Lane. I know it's not Eric Bloodaxe, but it is very good.
I think you should say I'm drinking a Dorian Stout from Myers Grocery Store.
Yes, that is right. Scarlet Lane, big news for them. They got picked up by a local or regional grocery store called Meijer. So now you can buy their beer at Meijer. I don't know if it's everywhere or just like in this area, but it was a delight for me to go there and see a bunch of Scarlet Lane beers because the liquor stores around me have stopped carrying Scarlet Lane because they said that the demand was so low. And I was like, you mean me coming and buying out your stock every time you had it is low demand? I mean, I thought I was doing them a
It
service.
feels weird, though. If the demand is so low, then why is Myers picking it up?
Yeah, I think some of the liquor stores around me are kind of douchey, and I think that was mostly what it was. Whoever runs it doesn't like the people at Scarlet Lane or something. Because every time I'd go in there, the Scarlet Lane like beer section, because they'd have like their own little section, would be almost completely sold out. So
Maybe they just don't know who you are. Maybe next time you're in the liquor store, you'll be like, hey, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I am the co-host of the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast.
Dustin, let's push on. What are you drinking tonight?
I am actually drinking a spiked hot apple cider. So what I did is my wife needed a coffee because our kids are both sick today. And so I picked up an apple cider and then I put a little Crown Royal in that.
Yeah.
This is, my friend, what I've been sipping on tonight, trying to keep the germs at bay.
Coffee and Crown Royal.
No. Apple cider.
Oh, apple cider. Oh, apple cider vinegar or just apple cider?
That Starbucks apple cider. I did have apple cider vinegar last night. I'm doing anything I can. We're going on vacation Friday. And so I'm trying everything I can not to catch my kids' disease.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. It just started sleeting here, like not quite snow, but not quite rain. And the way it was like hitting the windows kind of sounded like fire, So
You're like at this post paranoia from being in California.
Jen has drilled into me a very real paranoia of fire all the time. She, when she was younger, her house burned down, so she's always very, very much aware of noises that sound like fire and makes me very much aware of them as well. So, Dustin, do you want to push on into topics?
I would love to push into what we're calling the Phantom Produce episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we got 2 topics sent to us by Phantom producer Louis Novak. 1 topic sent to us by
employee of this podcast.
1 topic sent to us by my wife, Jennifer Van Allen. And then we got something else I threw in there. We'll see if we can get through them all. Okay?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So you want to start us out or do you want me to?
I'll let you take the first one. I like the second one.
So Phantom producer Louis Novak sends in this article on Gizmodo. Apparently, it's been reported that there is a videographer suing Adobe because there was a bug in one of their programs that deleted $250,000 worth of the man's files off of his computer. Now, it's not necessarily $250,000 worth of his files. It's like he could have licensed some of that stuff, and yeah. So he's kind of like looking at the files and what he thinks he could have got out of it, and that's what he's suing for, which, I mean, is what you should do with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's apparently a known bug, and it has affected multiple people.
Yeah, it's a class action. I think you're missing that key element.
Yes, he is.
It's just he is. So how class actions work?
He's the person who's bringing it forth, but he's
correct. So it's kind of like if his case wins, then it's like all of these other ones kind of like automatically win. But it's by binding them together, it brings validity to the case, and it makes it worthwhile to a attorney to pursue the case.
Yeah, and then it doesn't look like user error. It looks like Adobe's bug actually caused this. So the bug is with Adobe Premiere, which normally we wouldn't talk about something not with Photoshop or Lightroom, but a lot of people who listen are also getting into video editing. And what the bug was is if you took your media cache and moved it to a different folder, and then at the end of like editing, you click to clear your cache, Adobe wouldn't just clear everything in your media cache. It would clear all of the files that were in that folder that you moved the media cache to. So this guy had moved his media cache to an external hard drive and just moved it into a folder called videos, where he kept all of his clips. And when he went to clear his cache, instead of just clearing, the cache of like rendered stuff that he'd been working on, it just cleared like 100,000 files or something is what he claimed of video clips from this one folder called videos, which to me is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he didn't have backups made of these files, so they're just gone. And he said he spent 3 days trying to get them back and couldn't.
Yeah.
Which, that's a different story to me. You should have been able to get some of them back.
Yeah, I should maybe invest in like Time Machine or some sort of Backburn, Backblaze, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm. So Dustin, I know you use Premiere.
Yeah.
Have you had any problems?
Nope. No problems there.
Has your editor had any problems? This is maybe the more appropriate thing to ask.
Not that I'm aware of.
When's the last time you heard from your editor about the projects he's currently working on?
I just wrapped up one this week.
Nice.
New editor, Steve.
I know.
Wrapped up one actually just today. Today we wrapped one up, and then hoping to wrap up another one end of week, beginning of next. Get caught back up again. Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely.
Goal is to be caught up by Thanksgiving.
My goal is to be caught up on video edits by Christmas.
Well, I mean, we'll still have more videos in the can, but the goal is the ones that were behind on our deadlines, those done by Thanksgiving.
Nice.
So we'll see. We will see. My kids being sick, my babysitter not willing to watch my kids tomorrow because they're sick, is definitely going to set me back. We shall see. Joys of being a stay-at-home full-time worker / parent.
Dustin, have you ever sued a company before because they lost some of your files for you?
I don't think so, Steve. Have you?
No, I'm just trying to find a way to make this topic more relatable. Working on it. We gotta shop this, make it a little bit more interesting. We gotta Photoshop this top.
I will say the first thing I thought of when I listened or when I read the episode. God, my brain is fried. The first thing I thought of when I was reading the article from Gizmodo was, how do I get in on this class action? I was just like, I've got Premiere. I've got video work. I'm sure some files disappeared somewhere along the lines.
Now we're thinking, Dustin.
I mean, I've got weddings that are months out that need to be done, and let's not blame the editor. Let's blame Premiere.
This is what I like to hear, buddy. So what we want to tell all of our users, our listeners, to do here.
Our users.
If you use Adobe Premiere, just
we are Adobe.
Jump on over to this Gizmodo thing, look this videographer up, join this class action lawsuit, see if you can get some money.
If you can qualify, yeah. And if you do, let me know, because I am all in on this. I would say at least one wedding that has been deleted, easily worth 250,000.
I would say at least one commercial shoot for you, probably easily worth even more than 250,000. It was
Oh
a
yeah,
huge deal, right? Your first
yeah,
huge deal, to be
yeah.
correct.
Oh yeah. So let's just bundle those together. I think I'm at 1.5 million now, if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
Um,
ruined your business going forward. No other commercial products will trust you because of how bad you
yeah, I've
screwed this one up, losing all the
I've
files.
had to rebrand from Big Burrito to Little Quesadilla. So
Very nice. Yeah. No, it's probably more fitting for you to be little anyway.
is it? It's really thrown people off, actually.
Dustin, do you want to take this next one?
Next one comes in. What a good topic this next one is from Phantom producer Louis Novak. This one kind of rings a little true to Steve and I. So this one is actually in reference to the photo that's been going viral on the socials. It's a photo of a baby with a BB gun, and the photographer is under fire, Steven.
Nice, nice.
For a Christmas story inspired infant photo. Now, Stephen, I need to first preface this topic with, have you seen Christmas Story?
I have.
Okay, so you understand the photo's reference. Have you been to Shelbyville, Indiana?
Yes, I have.
Okay, case closed. Moving on. No. So
Why would the case be closed then?
Christmas Story in the Midwest is like our Bible during the holidays. And
Your Bible.
yes, sure. And the photographer in question replicated the coveted Christmas Story that is played across TNT and ABC and all the other major networks that have nothing else to do but play Christmas movies during the holidays. Which is like, isn't it like a 12-hour movie or something crazy?
No. It's like
No?
a 2-hour movie, but it just gets played on a loop all day on TNT or some
Okay,
shit like that.
I just remember it's like I turn on the channel and it's like, wait, is it still on? But anyways, so there's a famous scene in the movie where the main character, a little boy,
Ralphie.
Ralphie, he gets like a bunny outfit for Christmas. Mom thinks it's adorable. And then
Oh
really
gosh, you
all
don't
he
need to explain the movie to the. I'm sure 95% of our listeners have seen this movie.
you can't assume this, Steven.
If you haven't seen the movie, go out and rent it. It's real bad.
You don't even have to rent it. It's going to be on TV here in about 3 weeks, if it isn't already.
True, true, true.
I don't know what people are going to do though that are, supported by the royalties of movies like that when everyone goes to an unplugged society and there's just no one's flipping on TVs and watching Christmas movies because
They
everyone's
still
running,
get royalties from Netflix or HBO or whoever licenses it.
but no one's going to license
Now, the
it.
people who don't get royalties are the people who make Netflix original content, HBO original content, Amazon Prime original content, because that content is made for their platform, never leaves their platform, never gets licensed to anybody else. So they get paid one time up front, and then they never see any royalties from any of that content. Now, that's a
Yeah.
big problem. Those people will not be living the royalty life that they have become accustomed to, because those royalties are going to dry up for them if they keep doing these crazy awesome Netflix shows. Please don't stop doing the Netflix shows. Please don't. They're so
Wasn't
good.
it Jerry Seinfeld that was one of the first people that when he was negotiating his contract, actually negotiated in that he got a portion of the royalties for when the show would get, reruns?
I have no idea about that. I know
That's why he's one of the richest comedians of all times.
I'm a pretty big fan of script notes, and I know from script notes that writers get royalties. I know producers get royalties. I know directors get royalties, and I know actors get royalties too. But actors' royalties come after like directors and producers, which is why a lot of times after like one season of a show is done, the actor will suddenly be listed as a producer on every single episode because then
Mhm.
they get more royalties. They see more on the back end.
Right. Same with movies.
Mm-hmm.
Why you'll see like Mark Wahlberg is also the producer of this movie, and he's
Yeah.
the director, and he's the main character.
And the royalties can be really important. Ugh, the royalties can be really important. This Dorian Stout, man, it's tearing me apart. To people like writers, because a writer might write something 1 year and then it might take like 4 or 5 years before they get another thing out there. Unless they're like writing for television, and then they'll probably have 1 or 2 episodes up a year or more if they're the showrunner. But like a movie writer, they don't. It's not like not everybody's Max Landis, the guy who wrote Bright, and they don't get like 5 scripts sold every single year. So royalties can become a really important part of how they continue to pay their bills in between writing gigs and stuff.
But Bright's a Netflix original.
Yeah, it is. You made a huge mistake there. Actually, you know what? I don't think that would have gotten replayed anywhere else. So he probably got all of his money out of that one. It's a bad movie. Speaking of bad movies, let's get back to A Christmas Story.
Back to A Christmas Story. So this photographer came under fire for what I'm calling a innocent, harmless photo of a cute baby boy.
No, absolutely not. This is not an innocent, harmless photo. This is a photo that perpetuates the myth that A Christmas Story is a good movie and that it's something that people should watch. It is harming generations of children who will go into this movie thinking that it is something enjoyable and then just be bored out of their damn minds. So can you really tell me that it's worth it to inflict that kind of psychological damage on these children? How many people just shut off our podcast?
We turned out okay.
Oh, no, dude. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation was my Christmas jam growing up.
That is definitely better. Now, they should do a baby photo with a kid wrapped in Christmas lights hanging from power lines.
I got a real question to ask you, Dustin.
Yeah, Steven.
Would there be this kind of uproar if instead of a BB gun, let's say the kid was maybe posed in, I don't know, maybe like a white tank top, no shoes on, little blood on the bottom of the feet, maybe holding like an Uzi, and there's like a little speech bubble that says "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker" next to him. Do you think that people would be as upset about that as well?
Probably not.
Yeah, no. I think it's because, A Christmas Story is viewed as being such an innocent Christmas movie that, the gun in it is like such a central part. And the gun in the Christmas Story is also seen as like, you'll shoot your eye out, that whole thing. It's seen as something that inflicts violence. Ralphie does, in fact, basically shoot his eye out.
Yeah, I think the reason that the photographer became under fire was just the political climate in our country right now in terms of gun violence. I think people were seeing it as insensitive and perhaps just, thoughtless. And I don't know, it's like it's an interesting place that article put me in. It was like, I kind of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's just a silly, harmless, like baby photo.
It's a BB gun even. Like, it's not even a real gun. It's like,
I know, but the argument was that they were promoting a
shitty movie,
gun culture in our society.
Promoting a shitty movie in our society.
I just feel bad for the photographer. Like, this was an idea. I think if I read this correctly, this was an idea from the parent, and the photographer, did it, and now it's like the photographer that's essentially getting ripped apart on social media.
Except if you read the article and actually read what was going on social media, there were only like 3 or 4 different outrageous comments saying that this was bad because of the gun. Most people were supportive in the beginning. It's not like the lady who takes the pictures of young is as prostitutes. Like, and by young women, I mean little girls as prostitutes, where like there should be some sort of outrage about that because that's disgusting. This is a relatively harmless photo. I do think if instead of putting the gun in the baby's hand, she had put the gun like leaned up against the stool with the lamp on it, probably wouldn't have got as much backlash. But that's just me. I also think if she had, maybe chosen a better Christmas movie, probably wouldn't have got as much backlash. You know what I'm saying?
There's always next year.
I'm just saying.
Can I? I'm gonna say something. And
who's gonna be upset about a true American hero like John McClane being depicted as a baby? Nobody's going to be upset about that. It's Ralphie. Nobody likes Ralphie.
I will say this, Amy Hale, scrolling through her Facebook page, is crazy talented.
Yep.
Obviously bad taste in Christmas movies, but...
Very bad taste in Christmas movies.
but very, very gifted at baby pictures.
Mm-hmm. Dustin, what's your favorite Christmas movie? Let's hear it.
I'm actually like mildly excited for the new Christmas one coming out on Netflix, the new Santa Claus one.
I thought you were gonna say Scrooged. I thought that was gonna be your play.
I think it's kind of like their attempt to sort of remake the Tim Allen one, which I think will always be my favorite one.
Wait, the Santa Claus? The Santa
Yeah.
Claus is your favorite Christmas movie?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's so great.
I just love Tim Allen. It's like that's me as a dad. Minus like being divorced.
Minus being
dysfunctional.
racist.
Oh, is he racist in that movie?
Not in the movie, in real life.
Oh, I'm referring to the movie, Steven.
Okay, I'm gonna cut that out. We won't tarnish Tim Allen's name, even though he's a terrible human being in real life.
Yeah. I did not know any of that.
He would have loved that Christmas story photo. Tim Allen. I bet he has it like plastered all up in his office at home.
That's why, because he was supporting Trump, his show is canceled.
And because he has photos of babies holding guns. Tim Allen loves photos of babies holding guns.
Too far, Steven.
I'm just saying, man, he's all about gun rights.
All right. Do you want to take the next one from my wife?
My wife, Jennifer Van Elk, wrote in about...
Such a weird first name, by the way.
Jennifer? Or
No.
my wife?
My wife? I thought middle name was Jennifer.
Yeah. Jennifer is her middle name. That's correct. Her first name, given first name by her parents, is my wife. They're huge Borat fans.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the ethnicity of her parents to name her with that sort of pronunciation of my wife?
Well, obviously, they're not from Kazakhstan because people from there don't talk like that. So I guess they would be like English people.
Okay. I just didn't know if maybe this was something that when you marry into the Van Elk clan, it's not only do you lose your last name, but your first name slides to your middle, and then you're now referred to as my wife.
Yeah, definitely.
Just make sure we clear up some ethical issues here.
I mean, legally now, Jen is probably the only person who knew this before I shared this here, but my name isn't legally now Borat Van Elk, so...
Borat.
Yeah, that was part of getting married. I got to change my first name. It's only fair.
And you have to grow a mustache.
Photographer in Baraboo, Wisconsin, told kids at prom to do a Nazi salute for a photo. So this kind of fits in with our last one about a photographer coming under fire for a creative decision.
Yeah, this episode's going to be called Under Fire.
Under fire. One photographer does something that, whatever. It's a bad movie. And the other photographer is a total racist.
And then you just have California.
So, Dustin, did you take a glance at this article?
I did. Like the good person inside of me wants to believe that it was just something that the photographer asked the kids to do. It was sort of taken out of context. And then it's just something that, looked or resembled a Nazi salute, because I know that there's a lot of music videos and hip hop and different various other arm gestures, hand symbols.
Yeah. There's so many arm gestures and hand symbols in, the hip hop world that really just look like a Nazi salute. Like, it's so crazy how often you see that happen. And just normal like hip hop shit.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you think of like the dab, but then you turn it this way.
And instead of putting your head down and having your other arm across your face, you drop your other arm to your side.
Yeah, exactly.
And lift your eyes up like you're looking towards a swastika.
Uh-huh. See, you nailed it on the head there, Steve.
So it has since come out from a few different sources on Twitter that the photographer did, in fact, tell the kids to put their hand up in a salute that was Nazi-ish. At first, the photographer was saying he did not, and that it was just a funny picture that the kids just did.
I don't even see how it would be funny, though.
Yeah, and one girl who was around when the picture was taken said the photographer just told all the students to do like a yeah symbol, and they just all did that of their own accord. But there was a kid actually in the crowd. He's the only kid who's not putting up the Nazi salute, And a reporter tracked him down to talk to him, and he put out a lengthy statement about his peers and how they 100% were doing a Nazi salute. They were aware of what they were doing, and the photographer had asked them to do it, and that these kids had been bullying him the whole time that he'd been in school, and he felt incredibly awkward and uncomfortable, but the whole thing happened in about 5 seconds, so he couldn't get out of the photo, even though he didn't want to be in it.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't even know what you want to talk about in reference to this. There's so many things that come to my mind.
So, Dustin, I just want to know, like, what's the most racist thing you've asked a client to do at a shoot? No, to be noted, there is also one kid in the photo who is doing the white power symbol, like the upside down OK.
I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah, it's the OK sign, but, you know, the 3 fingers up are the W, and or I guess they're technically down when you do it or whatever, but it's like the 3 fingers represent the W, and then the circle in one of the fingers is supposed to be the P.
Yeah, I thought that was the thing. I've seen people do it at weddings where like you did it, and then if you looked at it, you got like punched or something, like sucker punched in the arm or.
Yeah, that was a thing in the Midwest a while ago. Ever since this, not the most recent election, but the one before it, it's come out that there's like that symbol is associated with the white power movement. And people claimed at first it wasn't associated with it, but it was just like people were trolling people online. But now enough people have been doing it to quote unquote troll people that it's just become a symbol of hate. So it's like if you're making OK, but instead of, you know, fingers up, you do fingers down, and you try to be like low key about it, you know, because you don't want people to know that you're a racist.
Why you do one of these where it looks like a spectacle?
Man, this episode dealing with some issues, man.
Going deep. We're diving deep on the
deep dive into gun control and racism.
So yeah, I think really the moral of the story on this one, Jennifer, in case middle name Jennifer, last name Van Elk.
First name my wife.
Exactly. In case you were curious, don't do racist poses when you're posing large groups of people, or small groups, really, for that matter.
But like, let's say the photographer actually had just told the kids put up like a yeah sign, and then all these kids just of their own accord at the same time were like Nazi symbol.
First of all, what's a yeah sign? Like, I don't even like when I think into my deep book of posing ideas. I'm not like, hey guys, I got one. This is the winner right here. Everybody, give me that yeah sign.
You know, it's kind of like that. Just take that and rewind it back.
Little John got the beat to make your booty go.
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Yeah,
but, Steven,
yeah.
We're not making enough money yet on this podcast to license that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need you to change some words, maybe a pitch here or there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so let's say you were shooting something and you didn't notice it at the time while you're shooting, but like your groom put up like a white power sign or something else that would be derogatory and terrible. I guess the question there is, let's say it's the only shot you got of this one thing and they really want the shot, but you feel uncomfortable with it. How do you solve that situation so that you don't end up like this photographer posting an incredibly inflammatory and racist photo online?
Yeah, but in this situation, it was the photographer who...
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to make this into something that's relatable to our listeners.
Yeah,
Dustin.
but
come on.
It's not going to be something that's relatable, at least to me, Steven, because I try to do a rather good job of vetting my couples.
Yeah.
The only thing I could
So do you
think
want
of-
to talk about one of your grooms who you recently had? And a tattoo that he had on his body?
Yeah, but we don't know that tattoo was racist.
You didn't know until I pointed it out to you.
And I still don't think. I mean, I've met them. They are the most sweet people.
David Duke seems real sweet too, I've heard.
Yeah, and I've met his family and everybody, and I don't think.
You've met David Duke's family?
Yes, I have. Personal friends.
How many races do you associate with on a daily basis?
I'm from Indiana, Steve. The good Lord told me to hang with sinners, not with saints.
Oh, this is the podcast where we lose all of our listeners in Indiana. Everybody else listening is like, yeah, that sounds like Indiana.
What would you do, Steven? what would you do in the situation in which you have a groom who feels the need to show his masculinity by doing inappropriate, racist things?
Well, I mean, let me just be upfront about this. If I noticed that happening while I was shooting, I'd walk away. No doubt in my mind about that. Like, that's just unacceptable. And I'm pretty certain we have something in our contract about like not shooting things like that. I don't know if it's necessarily if you're racist, we'll walk out, but things that make us feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And I would say any sort of racism would make me feel uncomfortable or unsafe while I'm shooting. So I would walk away, but assuming I didn't notice it and it wasn't until I was editing, I just wouldn't deliver that picture, I don't think.
Yeah, I've only ever been put in one racially charged situation, and it wasn't at a wedding. I was actually photographing a house. Have I told this story?
Maybe. You've told it to me. I don't know if you told it on the podcast.
Well, I was photographing a house and a elderly gentleman. It was his property, and I pulled up to the house and I had my hat on backwards.
Mhm.
Get out of the car, and he proceeds to ask me if I was from the hood. And then I say I'm like kind of frazzled because I'm it's a really busy day. I've got a lot of things I have to photograph, and I say like I'm thinking he's like I'm in a minivan, so I'm like is he? Did I miss? Did you say like I'm from the neighborhood? I look suburbia. Like I don't know where he's going with this. So I just kind of play along. He looks like a sweet, harmless old man. He's on like a riding lawnmower. He's really fitting the bill here, guys.
Is he drinking beer on that riding lawnmower?
No.
I've done that. It's a good way to mow.
But then yeah, he continues on to say, if you're not from the hood, then why do you look like? And then he said a word that I can't say on this podcast or ever for that matter. And I was so like I was just like whoa, like it just was like caught me off guard. And I nearly turned around and left if it wasn't for the fact that I was like, maybe he's not mentally stable.
Mm-hmm.
But I immediately went inside the house and called the realtor, and I was like, I don't necessarily feel comfortable, and I'm sure your client is a racist.
Ooh, how'd the realtor respond to that?
Just kind of laughed it off, and he's like, oh, he's just an old guy. Okay, if I had been wearing an Obama t-shirt, I probably would have been killed. Just saying. Because then on my way out, he proceeded to ask me if I was following the Supreme Court hearings, and I'm like, and I've got to go.
I've got to go right away. Wait, was this when Kavanaugh was getting confirmed?
Yep.
Oh, that lousy piece of shit.
So anyways, moving on, moving up, moving forward.
I'll let the listeners decide if when I said that lousy piece of shit, I was talking about Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh or this person who you were working with. Oh, gosh.
I want to talk about the topic that excites me the most.
I added it just for you.
No, I know. That's why you were texting me and you're like, are you ready to record yet? Are you ready to record yet? And I'm like, no, Steven, because I am so diving deep on this new Pixel phone from Google. Holy cow, guys. So the new Pixel phone, the Pixel 3 from Google that just dropped, it has this new feature that they are calling Night Sight. And it is blowing my mind. Every time Apple comes out with a new phone, I'm like, ooh, wow, this is great. But then Google comes out with a phone with a better camera, and I just don't ever understand it. Because like Apple should be the camera beast. It should be like dominating the camera game. And Google just keeps one-upping them every single time.
Why do you think Apple should be the camera beast?
Because they are the biggest phone manufacturer in the world.
That means they got to play it safe. They got to do things that they know will work.
I mean, they're killing it with the fake focus, blurry bokeh thing.
But Samsung and Google both did that first.
Yeah. But so anyways, this Night Sight on I almost said it. The Pixel phone essentially allows you to shoot photos at nearly unseeable light. And using artificial intelligence, it creates sort of a, I don't want to call it an HDR because it doesn't resemble an HDR image.
It does resemble an HDR image if an HDR image is done right.
Okay.
You can do HDR so they look like cartoons. You don't have to, though.
Or you can do it where it looks like it's an actual photo that's exposed properly.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand, Steve, is so from the article on Petapixel, it takes multiple photos instantaneously.
15 to be exact, I think.
Yeah, or I don't know if it's 15, but it was one of the photos being at a 15th of a second.
Okay, is that what it was?
And I was like, how are those sharp?
Yeah, night sight captures between 15 frames of 1/15th of a second each, and 6 frames of 1 second each. So it's more than 15 frames. It's a lot of frames. Wow.
But how is that staying still?
So you got to go into a special mode when you do the night sight. You can't just like it's not like a normal photo thing. You open up like the night sight thing or whatever, you switch over to night sight or whatever, and then you have to hold the camera really still, the phone really still while you shoot it. So what I've read is that the night sight thing works really, really well if you have like a tripod or you have your phone set down on something, but it doesn't work necessarily great if you are like handheld and like moving around and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I mean,
think that's
also it's
where-
probably doing stuff like Apple does, like when Apple does like HDR photos, where even if you're like moving around a little bit, it tries to stabilize the camera and create an image. That's like why when you do an HDR image with your iPhone as opposed to a normal image, it's cropped in a little bit because they've done things to try to stabilize it to make all 3 of the images that they shoot in an HDR image match up. So I assume night sight is not going to be as big of a photo as far as like it'll be cropped in a little bit on the sensor and everything so they can do some stabilization stuff for those of us who aren't going to use a tripod or, you know, set the phone down or do something like that. And I mean, from a lot of the photos I'm seeing, like there's one person who did like night sight photos from a plane and stuff. It was Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD. For those of you who follow him on Twitter or on YouTube, he's a really prolific YouTuber, does a lot of like tech review type stuff. He's really good at it. And it looks like from his photos, like, I mean, obviously on a plane, the plane's moving pretty fast when he's shooting the photo. So Google is working some sort of black magic to make that photo work out.
Yeah, I mean, all of these photos in this article, and Steven will post a link up to this in the show notes.
There'll be links to all the articles we discussed, even the ones about the really racist dudes.
And it's just like blowing my mind. This has just been kind of one area that Apple has really not tackled yet, which is the low light capabilities. I mean, they say it gets a little better with each iteration. Nothing to this magnitude.
I've seen your iPhone XS. It's so much better than any
It's better.
previous one. But yeah, no, this is better because this is Google playing to its strengths. It's using machine learning and stuff that Apple's just not as good at that kind of stuff. Apple's really good at making great hardware and great like software, like interface, that kind of stuff. Google's good at that stuff too, but where Google's really good is, you know, taking a very large data set and making something useful out of it. So like something where you take like 15 photos or 15 frames at 1/15th of a second and 6 frames at 1/6 of a second or whatever it was. That's like right up their alley. Like that's the kind of stuff where, oh, it's 6 frames at 1 second each. So every night sight shot will take you at least 6 seconds. Wow.
Do they offer it? I assume it's purely photo, no video mode. I didn't see anything about a video mode.
I don't see anything about video. I don't think you could do it because of the way that they're doing their stuff. What I will say though is like
That picture on Central Park with those guys or girls on the rock. What?
yeah, where it's like completely black, and then in the next photo it's like, oh no, it looks almost like daytime. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy good.
I hear good things about what Google is doing with their phones. Like it almost the Pixel 2 almost had me tempted to switch.
Yeah, the Pixel 3 also has a thing where if you take a photo of somebody, every time you take a photo, it actually captures like a photo for like a whole second. It'll take like 30 photos or something, and then instead of giving you the photo that happened right when you hit the shutter button, which might be like their eyes are closed or whatever, if there's a better photo in there, like where the person's eyes are open, it'll pop that up and be like, do you want to save this one instead? And it just does that automatically whenever you shoot a photo.
iPhones do that.
They do now?
Yeah. Now, when you shoot a live photo, you have the option to go back through and switch.
Okay.
Maybe that's just with the iPhone, the newest one. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I've not done that. I don't use live photos ever.
Yeah, I use iPhone live photos always, as
Yeah,
Steven
It's
notices.
terrible. It's terrible. It's ruining my life.
Because he loves it when I send him a picture and he hears in the background sweet little whisperings of me saying things like, Steven, I hope you like this photo that I'm taking right now.
It's usually sweet little whisperings like, oh gosh, Steve, help me. Help me. The racist man came back to my house again today. That's a real issue, and you should do something about that. Well, that'll get cut. Okay. When we circle back for jokes, it's usually great, but we probably shouldn't circle back to the racist stuff. Dustin, let's
Steven, you wanna do
jump
some
on over.
questions?
No, Dustin, we can't do questions yet.
Steven.
We gotta do some out of person sales. We gotta get up on our brand stands. Hey guys, I just jumped onto greetable.com to do the nicest thing I've ever done in my entire life for Dustin. That's right, I sent him a unique gifting experience, complete with pictures of me and a lovely message that I wrote. And oh my gosh, if you want to give your clients that same good feeling that I just gave to Dustin, you got to go to greetable.com for all of your go-to gifts for your clients, vendors, and referrals. You can personalize your gift with your very own message, like I just did for Dustin, and with photos. They don't have to be of yourself, which is what I did for Dustin. But whether they're of yourself or somebody else, those photos are going to be beautiful, high-quality prints to go along with that beautiful, high-quality gift from greetable.com. It's a unique experience that's sure to get some love on Instagram. How do I know it's sure to get some love on Instagram? I can tell you how, because Dustin sent me photos after he opened it and asked me if he had to wait for this episode to go live before he could post those photos to his Instagram because he was so excited about it. So here's what you guys got to do. You got to jump on over to greetable.com. That's greetabl.com. No, there's no E at the end of greetable. So just greetabl.com. And once you're there, use code Hangover20 for 20% off your first order. I know that's mind-blowing, and it's mind-blowing to me because when we first talked to Greetable about this, they said it was only going to be 15%. Then they threw on another 5% off just for us. So use code Hangover20 for 20% off your first order from greetable.com. That's greetabl.com. And there will be links down in the show notes if you guys want to check down there. Dustin, you were just telling me that recently you had to have a logo made for one of your companies, and you chose to go with something a little out of the box. You didn't create your own logo. Do you want to tell me what you went with?
Yeah, Steve. Our go-to for any branding need or any website we create for one of our clients is this little website called Tailor Brands. It's an incredible opportunity for anyone who's not super design savvy like myself. It really helps entrepreneurs and small business owners design effective branding materials.
Dustin, I gotta cut you off there. Did you know that Tailor Brands is actually sponsoring this episode that we're doing right now?
Stop it, Steve. Get out. I love Tailor Brands.
Tailor Brands is branding that doesn't have to be expensive. You're not going to lose an arm and a leg over this brand that you're getting. Am I right, Dustin?
Especially, do you know how expensive an arm and a leg is?
Tailor Brands was created to help entrepreneurs just like you, Dustin, and small business owners just like you, Dustin.
What?
Design effective branding materials at a minimal cost while requiring no previous knowledge. They offer easy-to-use automated logo design and brand building service.
Process is super simple. You simply type in the name of the company, a little, slogan if there is one, and, uses their algorithm and their AI and all that fancy witchcraft and magic, and it just, boom, pops out like 6 logos for you to choose from.
So what Dustin's getting at is that the branding platform asks users questions to determine their design preferences. Afterward, Their algorithm generates a few logo samples from which users can choose the most fitting to their business and further personalize.
Yeah, when we do website projects, it's our first go-to to get a logo on the site.
Well, Dustin, can I tell you about this new thing Taylor Brands is doing? They are offering a subscription. Users receive additional assets to complete their brand identity. We're talking about ongoing services to automate their work and make it easier. These services include social posts, Facebook ads, social covers, business cards, presentations, and more. They offer a full branding experience. All you need for the perfect branding at minimal cost.
I love it.
Listeners, if you want to go to Taylor Brands and get a new logo for your company, all you have to do is go to www.taylorbrands.com. That's TAILORBRANDS, Taylor Brands, and use promo code GETYOURLOGO. All one word, no spaces, all lowercase. GETYOURLOGO. Get your logo. That includes 30% off all packages.
Yeah, I definitely am going to be checking out that promo code and taking full advantage of the Taylor Brands company offerings because I love the simplicity and the ease of use. I'm a huge fan.
Dustin, we forgot one segment though before we can get into Q&A.
Did we?
We forgot to do follow-up, buddy. Last week on the podcast, we talked about culling, something Dustin has been pushing off for almost an entire year.
It's not really follow-up then because Dustin doesn't
And it has sparked more intrigue from our listeners than possibly any other topic we've talked about. There's been like 8 posts. Okay, maybe not 8 posts. There's been like 2 posts and then like a flurry of comments in our Facebook group all
One
about the
from
way that
my
people
wife.
cull. Yeah.
Jennifer Van Elk.
My wife. That is correct.
My wife, Jennifer Van Elk, came to defend Steven's honor with his terrible, terrible way of culling with the flag, unflag, or pick, unpick, or pick your nose, do whatever way of doing it, which is just asinine. But hey, like your wife said in the very politically correct way she said it, whatever makes you most efficient and makes you go the fastest, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get 2 minutes, make it happen. If you know what I mean. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Wink, Steve.
It never happens that fast, Dustin. Let's be honest. It'd be nice if it did. Quick pleasures. Quick, easy pleasures would be great in this life if I could get them, but I can't. Everything takes work.
Well, you got to switch to a solid state hard drive.
So,
much faster.
Dustin.
Yeah.
You got a lot of support from people, Star Children. I've now called them.
Star Childs.
Yeah. But the one thing that you and the rest of the Star Children can't tell me is how fast you're able to cull. Nobody's answering that, and I got to know for my own personal.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You know, is the star system monolith inspired? Like, have you evolved to a new level of the human evolution?
So I think what you're trying to say, Stephen, is we are a higher being.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. Star Children.
Absolutely, we are a higher evolved species than the Van Elks, for sure, for certain. I've known this for a while. Not even a question, really.
Yeah, no.
I'm just glad. I'm glad you're discovering
specifically asking you, Dustin McKibben.
I can call an entire wedding in about an hour and a half.
This is why you're watching Netflix?
No, this is definitely not while I'm watching Netflix. This is while I'm on an airplane, flying from one place to another, and saying average flight time is about an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. That's when I do my fastest culling, when I have 0 distractions, and I can do it in about an hour and a half.
How many photos would that be?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of, we take on average somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000. So let's say 4,000 just for being in the middle.
Okay. Very well done.
That's on my laptop. Now my laptop is significantly faster than my iMac because it has a solid state hard drive.
Yeah.
So I try to always call on my laptop when possible. And by me, I mean my intern Lily.
So it takes Lily an hour and a half on a plane. Is that what we're
No,
getting at?
does not take Lily an hour and a half. I wish Lily could
I
call.
assume it takes her longer because she's newer to it.
Yeah, very much. And she's, doesn't want to, she wants to make sure she doesn't miss anything.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Whereas I don't care.
When I first started calling, I was very much in the I don't want to miss anything camp. And then the more I was calling, the more I was just like, I get to any setup and it's like the first good shot I see, done. Next pose.
Next pose, I don't care if their mouth was open in one and closed in one. I'm just picking the first one.
No, I'm picking the one with their mouth is closed. Nobody wants a gaping maw in their photo.
Oh, Steve, you are the king of the gape, though, remember?
You're number one gaper boy. 5th grade battle wall champ, Steve Van Elk.
That's right. So how long does it take the great Stephen Van Elk of the lower evolved species of Earth to call a wedding using the unflag?
I would say the fastest I've done is 4,250 images, somewhere around there, not exact. And I knocked it out in about 45 minutes.
So pretty slow. Okay.
Yeah, pretty slow. I was, for that one, it was like,
I was on cocaine.
No, we had to leave to go somewhere. So I was culling like super fast compared to like my normal culling speed. And I was culling completely in grid mode the entire time. And Jen said there was only like 2 photos where she had to swap them out because like they were out of focus from the whole thing. So, and I culled it from like 4,250 down to about 800.
Now I have heard that the grid mode does cut time in half. So let's say the average wedding can be culled in about 2 hours if you're doing it correctly. I'm I would be interested to better perfect doing the grid mode because I think that could cut it down for us to about 45 minutes to an hour.
Well, I mean, Jen and I have an unfair advantage on you anyway, Dustin, when it comes to calling. Because we know either I'm going to call and she's going to edit, or I'm going to call and I'm going to edit. And so we know because it's us editing, like if we get to a photo and it's a little bit out of focus, we can easily, while we're editing, just flip on over and, see, hey, was there a better one? And if there's not, there's not. And if there is, there is. But when you send something off to an editor like you're doing, or like when our clients send something off to us, it's like we edit the photos they call and send to us, I shouldn't say that. Jen will actually send them like a message and be like, hey, this one was a little out of focus. Do you have a better one? Because she's a very nice person. But if it was me editing your photos, I would just edit the ones you sent straight up.
Steven, let's back up a second. This is where my method works so flawlessly. And I'm not sure that this would definitely not work for your method either. But because of how our workflow is, we create smart previews. The smart previews are 1-starred. They are then sent off to the editor. They come back and then integrated back into our Lightroom catalog, which is a whole other topic we could talk about later.
It's not worth talking about. It's just they send the catalog back. Done.
No, I mean the fact that we have you have multiple catalogs and we have one massive one.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand why you do that.
Different conversation for another day.
Yeah, you're doing everything wrong.
And by wrong, you mean you just don't understand what higher powers of beings and evolved creatures like myself. Anyways, moving forward.
Star children, like you.
Star children. So then the catalog comes back, and then once it gets migrated back into our catalog of everything we have, it's just as if I'm Jennifer in that situation, or as you call her, my wife. And so then as I'm going through, if one's out of focus, I just shift over to unstarred and look at the next couple. If one's in focus and looks better,
find sync. Yeah, got it.
Star that one. Make the other one black and white. Typically, it's their favorite.
There's one that was out of focus that you turned black and white. That's my favorite.
I kid you not. I still have like nightmares about this engagement session we did like, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, where we did the engagement session. One of the most cute, attractive couples, probably one of the things that really like skyrocketed our business. And because these guys were just like super popular.
Big skyrocket or little skyrocket?
It was a big skyrocket.
Gosh. All right, cool. Got my answer.
And anyway, so the mom, the mom was like, "Oh, I want to get my daughter like a Christmas present." I'm like, "Oh, great, yeah. What do you want to do?" She's like, "I want to get her a canvas from their engagement photos. Your canvases are just so. I mean, the photos were so good." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, great." I'm like, "Here's some of my favorites." This is back when I still cared about like helping, pick photos out, because thinking, my opinion mattered. And she's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I really think they want this one." This is back when I really didn't call down like I do now on engagement sessions and would give them like 300 photos from an engagement session. Lesson learned. And it was one that I considered like a throwaway image that Corinne had shot that was just kind of could see the wedding ring of her hand. It was just like her hand like over the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like their faces, but it was like super out of focus.
So where Jen, I'm going to go to the Facebook page now and read what Jen said. So we do flag on flag when we're culling originally, and then we do use the stars when Jen's going through and editing, or I am. And it's one for additional editing needed, like we need to send it to Photoshop or something. 2 is for something we're probably going to put in the wedding album. 3 is for the best photos from the wedding album that are probably going to go on the blog. 4 is for the even better photos that'll go for social media. And 5 is for the best of the best, which will go to our portfolio. So making use of all 5 stars there, which is why we don't do the 1 star for picking, because we use all 5 stars later on. And then Jen says red, which is number 6, is convert to black and white, like create a virtual copy, then convert to black and white. And Jen says she can cull and edit a typical wedding in 4 to 6 hours. I have seen her cull and edit a wedding with, I think it was 3,500 images in 1 hour and 15 minutes one time. So when she's working when she's got a lot of post-production work to do, it might be 4 to 6 hours, but she can really fly through that stuff.
Which is crazy to me because, and correct me if I'm wrong, she's just doing this on a laptop, right? Like it's not like she has any kind of fancy like keypad, you know how like editors typically will have like a keypad or one of those loop decks.
She does have some stuff like that, and most of it doesn't ever get used because she just wants to edit on the laptop wherever she is in the house. So when she's using the laptop editing wherever she is in the house, it's never going to be like
like at a table
one of
or
those
something.
record-breaking like hour and 15-minute sort of things. It's going to be like a 4 to 6 hours sort of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I keep looking at getting like the palette or the loop deck or something like that to help speed up my workflow. But I think longtime listener Devin Rowland is actually sending me her loop deck. So I'm super grateful and excited, even though she did preface that it doesn't work a lot of the time. So we'll see.
With time, it's like they get glitchy. It's like you have to leave your Mac back on Snow Leopard if you want everything to work right. You can't be on that Mojave.
Mojave. Are you on Mojave?
Yeah, I'm on Mojave. I don't think Jen is. I think Jen's still back one.
Yeah, I'm always a slow adapter because I'm like afraid that all my programs are going to come to a...
Oh yeah, no, I updated the first day it was available. I was like, well, I can always revert back to my my carbon copy clone of this. It'll only take a few hours.
Yeah.
If Lightroom doesn't work, or Photoshop, or Final Cut. But they all work. Audio Hijack, I guess, would be another one. These are all good programs, though. They all get updated. Dustin, let's do some Q&A.
Q&A me, baby.
Let's do some Q&A.
But Steve...
Matthew Dartford from our very own Facebook group asks, last night I had a meeting with a couple that went well, and the couple booked me there and then. Yay.
That's good.
That's an exclamation point. Yay!
Yay! Kind of like that.
Yeah, just like that. Matthew Dartford has actually sent me several audio messages where he, just like that. Wow, you nailed it.
Yeah, just wanted to I really wanted to capture the tone of what Matthew was going for there.
But this got me thinking, what if you, the photographer, thought the meeting had gone badly or was going badly? Perhaps you didn't like the couple. Perhaps their demands were too great, and in your head, you're just dying to get out of there. Then, without any warning, they say, well, that all sounds great. We would like to book you. What would you do? How would you handle it?
So yeah, I've thought about this because we had like kind of one nightmare bride in the past, and I was trying to think through that scenario myself moving forward. How would I handle a situation where you're in a meeting with a bride and you're like, this bride is just not a good fit, but there's that chance that she could book on the spot. And so what I have thought about doing is you simply, I don't know if you're not a paper contract kind of guy, I know, because you all about that digital.
All about that digital.
And we kind of split ourselves between digital contracts and paper contracts, just because I feel like it's easier to get them to book on the spot if I have a paper contract in front of me that I can slide across that table with a beautiful Bic pen. And so what I decided I would do if I felt that they weren't the right couple for me is I just wouldn't slide that contract across. And I'm like, well, we do our contracts online, guys. If you're, go home. This is a big decision. I want you guys to be comfortable with this decision. Go home, talk it over, talk to mom, talk to dad, talk to cousins, and then get back to me, when you're ready. And then as soon as they email you back, like, oh my gosh, unfortunately, someone else just booked us. I mean, what are the odds? We are so busy. Yeah.
Which AW Photographic - Wedding Photography in our very own Facebook group said they always say to them to have a chat and get back to me. They're very clear about that, and they think it's very important that the couple decides without the photographer being there. Then they can always say they're booked or going on holiday later when they finally do get back to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what we would do.
So you're in good company there.
Yeah, because typically we always try to get the couple to book on the spot. It's much easier to close a deal when you're in person than it is to later on be like, hey, remember me? We got coffee. We were best friends. And then you met two other photographers, but I was the bestest one.
Bestest. Yeah, I like that.
So, or you could always play it off like, so my best friend Steve is a wedding photographer, Redwood Lane Pics. I just feel like you guys might be a better fit. So,
see, Dustin, because what I would do in that situation is I've actually printed off several of your big burrito contracts, and I actually just say to them, I know you guys thought you were getting in bed with Redwood Lane here, but I'm actually now working for Big Burrito Creative. You might know them better as Little Quesadilla Creative. You know how it is. Constant name changes over there, but here is my contract. Yeah, and I slide that Big Burrito Creative contract across the table to them. They sign, I walk out, and I'm done. And then I call Dustin and I say, hey, I've got you another client, buddy.
Yeah, as long as you keep sending over those retainers, man.
Yeah. Well, actually, the retainer is the fee that you pay to me for booking clients for you. So I keep the retainer myself, personally. It's actually a really good deal. Yeah.
Great deal.
We got some great things, not just from AW Photographic. Devin Rowland says, I haven't been in that situation, but I think I'd say something like, I don't think I'm going to be the best photographer to capture what you're looking for. Let me email you some recommendations that might be more in line with your vision for the day, which is something that's very difficult to say. And Jen and I have actually had to send out an email like that to somebody once, and that person persisted and said, no, they really wanted to use us.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah, so
that's just how great you guys are, though.
Well, that puts you then in a tricky situation where you're like, I don't want to work with this person, but they've made it very clear they want to work with me. If I turn them away,
why didn't you want to work with this person? Why didn't you want to work with this person?
The bride was super nice. She said she had to have her dad look over the contract, and the dad just sent back like a 8-page thing saying everything he didn't like about the contract, everything he wanted changed, and we're just like, we don't want to work with somebody who is going to do this to our contract.
I remember this story now. Yep.
Yeah. So I think I'm pretty certain we didn't end up working with her, even though she persisted, which was really, really difficult. Because then you're like worried they're going to leave you a bad review or something because you didn't want to work with them. But In the end, it's just like this is not going to be a good fit if this is the way that you're like approaching the situation. So
Yeah, we had a couple like that where the groom cross had a bunch in our contract, and I was like, all right, you guys can find someone else. And then the bride came like begging me. She's like, oh, you have to forgive me. He's like just super controlling and like, I really want you guys. How can we make this work? And I ended up doing the wedding. And then it was just like, oh, it was a nightmare.
So Michael Orlando wrote in response to this question.
Michael's one of the star children, just
Yeah.
letting you know.
Since you have all their information, over the next couple months, stalk them and then start planting adulterating evidence against each other and drive a wedge deep, deep down between them to make them split up on their own. That way, when they call you up saying that they are canceling the wedding, you can keep that non-refundable deposit and not have to shoot their wedding.
Love it.
Michael then asked if that was too dark.
Never.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said not dark enough, obviously.
What's better is if you start pursuing them and then you start setting them up with your friends.
So my response to Michael was, Matthew should totally play this out. After he splits them up, then he marries one of them. But
No,
he
you don't want to
keeps
marry one of
planting.
them.
He keeps planting that adulterating evidence, though. Keeps driving that wedge deeper and deeper, finally convincing one of them to murder the one that he married. Now, not only did he get that retainer, he's got that life insurance money too.
Now that's too dark.
Yeah, yes, it 100% is too dark. But we need to know how this ends. Does Matthew end up in prison? Is
No,
the person
what-
actually dead, or did they fake their death because they
Matthew.
learned what Matthew was doing, trying to drive a wedge between them, Dustin, and then they used that situation to their advantage. Yeah, they used that situation to their advantage to imprison both Matthew and their former fiancée. So now they're alive and they're out there living their life great. But Matthew and the former fiancée have been connected because of all the dark stuff that Matthew was planning in his former fiancée's head. Now they're both in prison, possibly together.
It's a love story.
Yeah.
I mean, this fall on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, I did say we need to stop talking about this now. Call Netflix and Amazon and HBO. We got a series here. People are gonna love this. Put it up right after
Sabrina.
Sabrina. I was trying to think of like some darker stuff, and then I was like, oh, Netflix doesn't actually do like the dark stuff, you know? That's usually other stuff, but Sabrina's pretty dark, yeah.
I just saw a viral post on Facebook that was this guy. He had a blanket over his head. Maybe you saw this.
No.
And he said, Netflix, where's all the lighthearted, funny stuff? Like, what is the deal with all this deep, dark stuff you've been, having on Netflix?
Oh, they want people to actually watch Netflix.
Where's my Family Feud? Where's my Family Matters? Where's
They got stuff like that.
Apparently it's not good.
So, in that situation though, Matthew, the client wants to sign. You don't want to sign with them. Telling them to look the other way and then running out, which Matthew suggested, not really an option.
I'm picturing a comical scene where the contracts, say you made the mistake of putting the contract on the table before the client walked in. Client's already got that sweet contract. Contract's in their hand. Pen is out. Ink is being transferred to paper. And then it's Matthew's turn to sign the contract. And he's thinking through it. He doesn't want to do this.
Later's out. He's burning that contract right in their faces.
No, he's breaking the pen, Steven. It's like a scene out of I don't know, Modern Family or something, where he pushes the pen and his broke ink all over the contract, all over. Oh man, you guys. Well, you know what we'll do? Once I get home in 4 to 6 weeks, I will email you over another contract. Hopefully,
I like this one. Yeah,
I don't get emailed a digital contract in between then for another bride and groom on that same date. Or perhaps I schedule a vacation, a family reunion. But yeah, in 4 to 6 weeks, I should have paper back in my printer that's jammed, and I'll get you a contract in the mail. send it via Global Express, where it goes around the world to really give you a global experience with this contract. And we'll get this signed, get this dated. Off we go.
Now, one of my personal favorites, though, Dustin, is you look at the bride and groom and you sign the contract, just plain as day, and then you look at them and say, "I'm sorry, but in my business and my family's tradition, a contract isn't really signed
I see where you're going with this.
until you consume that contract." So then you order a sandwich and you put the contract inside the sandwich, and then you make them take bites out of the sandwich. You take bites out of the sandwich. You all eat the contract. Now the contract's in your belly, and the stomach acid is just burning it all up, and you're all good.
That's better than what I thought you were going to
Yeah,
say.
what do you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say, in my tradition, in my family, a contract isn't binding until we create a blood oath. And then out of your bag, you whip out some ceremonial switchblade.
Oh,
And
this is
you're like-
good. I like this one.
And you reach your hand across the table to the bride
Oh,
and groom.
wait. You reach in your bag, pull out your knife. Now you have to light several candles around the table as well. And then you pull out a
Yes.
Ouija board, and you're like, a blood oath isn't a blood oath until we've communed with our ancestors to make sure that they're all okay with this.
Yes.
So now you put your hands on the Ouija board, and you're like, look, so-and-so's mother, is it okay if we do this?
I see where you're
And
going.
then you guide the hand to the no. And you're like, guys, I'm sorry. And you just tear the contract up right in front of them. And then you burn that Ouija board. And it's going to put out some green smoke because it is demon possessed. But that's just something you're going to have to live with, because once you breathe that green smoke in, the demon now lives in your body.
See, now, Matthew, where you might run into some trouble with this scenario is if the couple is like, oh, that's so weird you say that. We believe in the same thing in our family. In fact, we brought our ceremonial dagger.
Oh,
And-
snap. Now you have to do this wedding because it sounds cool.
Or it's something out of Indiana Jones, one or the other.
Yeah, no. And then you just say, yeah. And if we drive the dagger through the groom's heart and he lives, then the contract's good and it's signed. Oh no, we brought it back to murder, Dustin. We brought it back to murder.
Steve. Oh, next question. I think we answered that one, Matthew.
It's so answered. Let's take something from the internet. You find us a good one, Dustin.
Our relationship was. Is this one question, or where am I at here?
Where are you at?
That's a long one. No, I don't want that one.
Find a short one. We're running late. We got to wrap this up. I got to edit this still before Sunday.
Caitlin from the Facebook groups asks, having a complete mind blank, what would be the best aperture setting for a wedding group of 8? Well, Caitlin,
I think your fifth grade paddleball champion, number one gaper boy, would let you know you want that 50 millimeter f1.2 set at f1.2. Now, it's going to be difficult to align everybody so their eyes are in focus, but it's going to be worth it.
just one straight line of 8 people. That's all you've got to do.
Well, it can't be one straight line, Dustin, because of the way that the lens is shaped. The people on the outside edges won't be in focus, only the people in the very center on a wider shot. So you're actually going to have to move the people on the outside edges just a little bit closer. So it's going to be more of a concave sort of line.
Concaved in or concaved out?
No, it's not concaved in or concaved out. It's concave or convex. It's not. You don't concave in, concave out.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't familiar with this term, are they curving towards you or away from you? Because it depends on what direction you're viewing the concave. Are we talking from the camera or from...
Depends what direction you're viewing the it's a concave, so think of it like this. They're kind of forming a cave for you. If it was convex, then it would be almost like a flying V
Be like
sort
a
of
dome.
shot. Yeah.
Be like a dome.
Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to get a visual here, Stephen.
I hope you're visual now.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good?
Yeah. How
All
would
right.
you do this? What's the best aperture setting for a wedding group of 8?
Oh, easily F22. Certainly F22. Oh, yeah. I want everything in focus. I want everything in focus, Steve. I don't want to take that risk. Caitlin, it is not worth getting anything out of focus. What if down the road you're shooting at a beautiful church, you're setting up that group of 8? I want to picture that this group of 8 is a mythical group. It's not a family photo. It's not a bridal party. This is the group of 8. And you're setting them up, and you don't want anything behind them, in front of them, around them, out of focus. F22, F24, whatever you got to do, it needs to be at least above F20.
Yeah, dial it straight into F22. Then you're going to want to bump that ISO up too.
Yeah, you're going to have to bump the ISO, but that's okay. Bring a tripod, drop that shutter down as low as you need to go, and then just
want
tell
that shutter at
group of
1/1.
Tell that group of 8 to hold real still. I gotta do a 1 second exposure.
Who blinked? Which one of you blinked? Get your eye drops. Get your eye drops, Susie. Jeez.
And if you really want to get creative and you don't want to use flash because you're doing it in this creative artistic method, you could paint them with light. I'm just saying, Stephen, this has so many advantages that you haven't even thought about.
Yeah, I mean, light painting, now you're not really, you've gone beyond photography. Now you're just a visual artist, you know? And I think that's a good place to live, Caitlin.
I think that's where you want to be. I mean, Stephen's F1 blur, not a good idea. F22, you can't lose in that scenario.
Yeah. First, you're just going to have to light paint all of them in, but then everything else around them is going to be dark. So now you're going to have to go through and light paint in every blade of grass.
I was picturing this is on like the stairs of a church inside, like
light paint in every fabric of the carpet.
I'm just picturing you with like a Batman type belt on with flashlights, and you're walking around painting like the crucifix and the altar.
Nah, just the crucifix.
You guys hold still up there, guys. Hold still. I am painting back here. I need this to be taken seriously.
The Michelangelo of light painting in your photography.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, you want to really be able to see the brush strokes when you look at that photo.
Mm-hmm. That's why you got to get one of those brush lights.
Yeah.
Steven and I are going to be selling that on our Patreon.
Maybe you just paint them with like some glow-in-the-dark paint. Does that work? Then they should show up no matter what your aperture is, right? That's how glow-in-the-dark works.
No, you're inverting it, Steve. That's the difference between convex and concave.
Shoot, man, you got me.
Yeah, it's the inverse square law with lighting. So you don't paint them with glow-in-the-dark paint. You come to the church the night before and you spray paint the entire church with glow-in-the-dark paint.
And then you light paint with a black light.
And then you light paint. See, you get there. You got it, bud. Caitlin, I think...
And when you light paint the couple in their bridal party, they're going to still be like blue and dark, but their teeth will really shine.
Exactly. Hopefully they're dark.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast with Dustin and Steve. If you want to help us out, jump on iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a 5-star review. If you want to connect, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Wedding Photo Hangover or on Twitter at WedPic Hangover. Dustin is on Instagram at Dustin_McKibben and Steven's at Steven Van Elk. If you want to get involved with the awesome community of listeners, join the Wedding Hangover Facebook group. You know, we got mostly photographers there, but we got some videographers, we got some DJs,
there's a couple star children.
Yeah, we got some star children. You don't have to be a photographer to get down into the community. It's a very accepting group. Everybody's really nice and helpful. You want to be there. It's gonna make you a better photographer
easily, or
just fill your life with more laughter. The people there are awesome. If you really want to warm Dustin and I's hearts, head on over to anchor.fm/weddingphotohangover, and you can sign up to support us for as little as 99 cents a month. It's extremely helpful to us and to the making of this fine podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time your head is pounding, your limbs feel like dead weight, and your entire being aches for the sweet embrace of death. That's right, next Sunday after you shoot another wedding.
Dun dun dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Actually, in this case, they'll see us Thursday on Thanksgiving Day for the Thanksgiving special.
That's when Steven and I will tell you all of our Black Friday, Cyber Monday pics of pictures, photo pics, pics.
Yeah.
Not
Dustin,
dick pics. That
when I
joke's
was in
dead,
San
dead and
Francisco, I went to the Apple store
buried. I saw that.
there, the visitor center one.
Mm-hmm.
They have like this badass thing you can do. It's like augmented reality. So they have like a 3D landscape thing. It's all like white with like grid lines on it. And then you hold up an iPad in front of it. And then, like they have iPads there with a special app. And the iPad, if you like hold it up and like move it across the face of the thing, it converts. And then all of a sudden you can see the entirety of the Apple Park as opposed to just like the white grid thing. And you can see like cars driving by. It's real cool.
Yeah. Somebody I went to college with he owns a company in Los Angeles developing augmented reality things. And he just showed on Facebook their new line of augmented reality business cards.
So this had nothing to do with the Apple thing? You just wanted to transition into talking about one of your friends again?
No, it's integrated in with the new technology that Apple rolled out with the new phones and the tablets, where essentially
Cool.
anytime you turn on I think it has to be, currently at least, it has to be Facebook or Snapchat. And you essentially like roll over their business card and like the business card disappears and like like fireworks come off the business card and their name appears, in front of you. Like different things like that.
Man, that sounds like a lot of work to do for something that nobody does anymore, which is hand out business cards, though.
I know. I was like, but I think they needed a practical application for consumers because their biggest client is Jeep Chrysler. And so they have a thing where
you just buy like a really plain, gross-looking car, but then when you hold your phone up,
exactly,
scroll over from one side to the other, boom! It's the most awesome Jeep ever.
Like, wonder what my Jeep would look like with this accessory.
If I had the money to get a real nice paint job.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what they designed. But it won a bunch of awards though, so I think that's landed them since a bunch of new contracts.
Cool.
I like following people like that I went to school with because I always think it's interesting as a photographer how many other careers you can somehow kind of fall into that are related to sort of the visual arts.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Dustin, we should wrap this one up because we've gone pretty long. So I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have we, Steve?
Bye.
Have we? Bye, Steve. Such a weird first name, by the way.
Jennifer or
No.
my wife?
My wife? I thought middle name was Jennifer.
Wedding Photo Hangover was edited this week by Steve Van Elk of Bespoke Tone. Go to Bespoke Tone for all of your photo, video, and audio editing needs. Woo-wee!